Hi everybody! Me again, Arya Starlight. So, there really hasn't been any VTuber drama, at least nothing big, for the past few weeks. And I suppose that's a good thing, right? We should all be happy about it if there's no drama. But that means I'm gonna have to resort to other forms of low-effort content. And the gold standard, of course, for low-effort content. Reading Reddit. All jokes aside, I mean, I have spent a lot of time on Reddit. I am something of a Redditor myself, you could say. And let's be real, most of this stuff is usually made up. It really usually is. Sometimes people are posting stuff just for attention. Sometimes the details are so over the top that it seems like they're written by a short story writer just to see how believable their stuff is, or how believable it can be. But for the moment, let's suspend our disbelief and take a little bit of a dip into reading some Reddit. For me, it's kind of just picking out a couple stories in the same theme that I'm going to read to you guys and give a little bit of my own opinion on. I'm going to try my best not to get super sidetracked, or if I do, kind of cut it out a little bit in the editing process. But this is a learning experience for me as well, so that I can get used to recording and editing this type of content. If you're listening, be warned that the mood for these particular two posts is not the best. So the content is not going to be the brightest, most happy or sunny content. Reddit can tend to be that way. Sometimes you'll get the odd feel-good story that gets promoted, but just as a fair warning. Alright, I've had a little bit of a drink of water, let's get going. Like I said, the mood for these stories is a little bit... I mean, that's Reddit. The first one we're starting with from the title. Kind of already a shocker. My parents hired people to kidnap me. My brother ended up pointing a gun at them. What do I need to do to get emancipated? Now this story, as with most on this subreddit, not posted by the original poster, this is a repost to highlight what they consider the best of the updated stories on Reddit. The original writer starts off saying, I am 16 years and 2 months old. My parents believe I'm a disaster and an unruly child. They're delusional parents. My mother has bipolar disorder, doesn't take her meds regularly. I'm sure my father has undiagnosed mental health problems as well. They've been wanting to send me to a camp for troubled teenagers for a while, and 2 people came to take me without me knowing. I thought they were kidnapping me. I screamed. And my brother, who was home but wasn't supposed to be, took my father's gun and threatened to kill them. That was when they told us who they were and why they were there. And they called the police, but they didn't do anything after they talked to our parents. I don't trust my parents anymore. I want to get emancipated. Where do I start, and what documents do I need to prepare? Do I have a case? I'm working part-time right now. I don't think my parents will object. They'll be happy to get rid of me. For those unfamiliar with Reddit, this right here was the original end of the post. They got some comments. It seems like the original comments were letting them know that emancipation would not be likely. So their first edit reflects this. It seems like emancipation is unlikely. Sucks, but it's the reality, and I should accept that. If you have any other advice for me, maybe change my guardian or somehow reduce the influence that my parents have over me, anything that helps, I'll appreciate it. With one final note, the original poster just kind of reminds people to refer to them with the correct pronouns. So, how this particular subreddit works, they actually have highlighted some of the relevant comments here, and we will go through that, but just the initial story! Oh my goodness! The fact that it's legal? That you, like... Alright. I get it, like... It's a weird time to talk about anything relating to parents' rights in the country. It's a weird time to talk about rights at all, let's be frank. But, I don't think being able to get your child kidnapped from their own home, my god! That's gonna mess somebody up. That's gonna give somebody PTSD, like, real trauma. Especially, like, them and their brother, who is also involved in this now. Oh. Whether this story is real or fake, it is easily verifiable that sending your children to places like reform schools or camps for troubled kids, that part is factual. And that, in my opinion, is kind of the bad takeaway from that. I mean, just like being reminded that that's a shitty thing that people can do to each other, kind of sucks, let's be honest. Oh well, we'll get on with it. Relevant comments here. This is where it kind of starts to seem like, is this just for Reddit? Because the first one is saying, I make about $500 per week making YouTube videos, and it only takes 2 to 3 hours of their time every day. I mean, you'd have to be pulling some serious views for that. All the numbers I keep seeing, and I don't make money on YouTube yet, so I can't tell you myself. But what I've heard is that, like, it's like 10,000 views is, 10,000 views is what, like, $10? Like, it's not even that much. So this person would have to have a pretty substantial YouTube channel to be getting that level of monetization. They say I can make videos wherever I live. I've had a stable income for the past 1.5 years, despite the fact that they're only 16. Another kind of, it's been increasing every month. It's more than I can say for my parents. I teach makeup and style on YouTube, just not the type that they like. It's what started everything. Tried playing along in the past, but they don't fall for it anymore. According to them, I'm misbehaving because I'm not as girly as they want me to be. They keep saying I'm not behaving like a proper girl. I see it as kidnapping when someone grabs me, puts a blindfold on me, restrains me, and forcibly takes me somewhere I don't know. What do you call it if it's not kidnapping? It seems like, in the comments, people were kept talking about the costs of emancipation. Only rich kids can get emancipated? I called the Department of Child and Family. They said it's within my parents' rights to send me to a troubled teen camp for whatever reason they see fit, and they can do nothing to stop it. Kidnappers were there on orders of my parents, so it wasn't even breaking and entering. They had a key. They took away my room's door, for example, to not give me any privacy. They locked my window, blocked it completely, oh my god, so I have no sunlight and no view of outside. Take my stuff all the time, my clothes, my bed, books, electronics, things that I pay for myself. Take away my contact lenses and good glasses, and only let me wear a heavy, ugly one, even though I bought the other one myself, and all of it for no reason. Keep insulting me and tell me I'm a troubled teen without any reason. I have $15,000 in the bank. I can afford a lawyer if my parents let me see one, because I'm permanently grounded right now. The school counselor says my parents have the right to do the things they do, and I should trust that they know what's best for me better than I do. So yeah, as you can see, the way it's set up, there's a lot of sussy things about it, let's be honest. I mean, if you're a 16-year-old kid and you've been doing a YouTube channel for the past 1.5 years, you've got $15,000 in the bank, I feel like you're rich enough to qualify for only rich kids can get emancipated. You can cover your own lawyer fees. You're updating Reddit. You could contact a lawyer. Am I wrong in thinking that? Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But still, we said we just suspend our disbelief. So, let's continue. Sadly, don't have any good news. Just 2 weeks after posting that, my parents ended up sending me to a camp. camp they sent me to was using the same property and facilities of an older camp, which was closed down due to abusive teenagers. Oh no. The first update to this, and it seems like things have already taken a really bad turn. And I gotta tell you guys, the stuff that this person reports going on at this camp is really disgusting. I would like to remind you once again, whether this particular story is real or fake, it is legal for parents to do this to their kids. And sadly, the legislation regulating these camps is really lax. So what they report may not even be that far off from the truth of what happens at these places. After all, wasn't even the camp that Dr. Phil works with exposed for some kind of really bad stuff? I don't know. Now let's soldier on. We'll try to get through it. This is the Sharedy Parents Spotlight episode, the first episode, and it's going to be a heavy one. This place wasn't like anything I imagined it would be. I tried to cooperate and pretend everything's normal, but they see compliance as a form of resistance. They also see non-compliance as a form of resistance. Whatever you do, they see it as a form of resistance. The formula is that we're defective people, and the only way to fix us is to first break us down completely and rebuild according to their standards. Until they see you have mental breakdowns, they don't agree that you're ready to relearn everything and change. So they continue the pressure. Even when I was doing everything they wanted, they weren't convinced. It took maybe 3 months for them to be convinced I'm broken down, and they did break my spirit, to be honest. I got to the point I just didn't care about anything anymore. I just wanted it to end. They knew about my YouTube channel, and they wanted me to log in and delete all my videos, even the channel. I had a girl who pretended to work in the kitchens to befriend me, only to see if I truly hate my old self or not. She'd tell me she watched my videos, and she was insulting me left and right, saying horrible things about me and my brother, who's also a YouTuber. I was supposed to agree with her. If I took things personally, they knew I was acting, and I wasn't ready. They got me when I was at my lowest, and they got me to log them into the account. Next day, they brought me in front of a computer and showed me that my old password wasn't working anymore. They told me that they deleted my account, thinking all the time and effort I put there was gone. From there, I didn't care anymore. They were convinced they've achieved their goal, so things became easier. They'd teach me to be a nice, girly Christian girl who wants to raise babies and would never touch a boy until she's married to someone her parents pick. It was like they were sending me into a children's book. Then my dad came and brought me back home. When I got back, my brother actually told me that my YouTube account wasn't deleted. Since I was using his email for recovery, he got a notification when I logged in from the camp because it was a new location. So we figured this wasn't good news and jumped and changed the password. My account is intact. Those assholes at the camp were lying. I don't know if I'm the same person or not, or how much I've changed, but I really hate my parents. I hate them so much that a year ago I couldn't even imagine such a level of hatred is possible. There are 448 days until I'm 18. I'm counting every single day until this is over and I'm leaving with my brother and we're never looking back. My big brother is the only positive thing in my life, the only person who I trust. When I was gone, he went to police, CPS, even talked to a lawyer and private investigator, find a way to get me back, but nothing worked. My parents came after my $15,000, which had in a joint account with my brother in order to pay for this program that they sent me to, but my brother actually ended up moving the money to an account only under his own name, so parents couldn't access it. He even continued to post the videos that I had prepared in the pipeline, so when I was gone, continued to make more money and didn't lose subscribers. That's it for me. From what I understand, my parents couldn't afford to keep me there anymore, and that's why they pulled me out. Otherwise, the place wanted more time with me. Ah, my god. So this is their report, after they've endured this torture, and make no mistake about it, that's definitely what it is. After they've endured this torture that is legally enforced upon them by their parents, the only reason why they were able to get out is because it's expensive. As it turns out, it's expensive to pay for an entire camp staff just to harass your kids into believing what you want them to believe. But despite that, it still happens. It still happens to so many kids. I know that there are a lot of things about this story that really make it seem untrue. And whether it is true or not, I lack the resources to verify it, and even if I could verify it, I wouldn't want to. The people involved are minors, and they're entitled to their privacy. What I will say, though, once again, is that whether this story is true or not, this is a legal thing that happens in our country every day. There are camps that get exposed for mistreatment. There are camps that get shut down. It was mentioned in this story itself that the camp they went to was using the same facilities as one that had previously been shut down for mistreatment. There really aren't enough laws in place to actually protect kids. A lot of laws these days kind of parade that they're going to make your children safer, but are they? I mean, if stuff like this can still happen, I guess the thing is, people see this and they think there's nothing they can do because it's their parents enforcing it on them. And that's so strange. I mean, isn't it the same for any other kind of abuse done by family or parents too? Yet we still try to stop that. I think it's time that, you know, if we can learn anything from this story and have any kind of takeaway, maybe it should be we need to not tolerate this stuff. I'm at the stage in my life where I identify more with parents age-wise and age range-wise as my peer group than I would with a young person who could potentially get sent to a camp. But I do remember having it threatened to me when I was younger. I was just lucky that it didn't actually happen to me. I know that now there's not much I can do as an individual, but maybe, you know, with the little bit of reach that I have, if we can just all of us adults, if we hear our adult peers talking about sending their children to some nasty place like this, we need to tell them that's not okay. Like, that's beyond not okay. And we need to stand up for the people that don't have a legal voice to stand up for themselves. Well, there's my silly little moral message for the first story. We do have a second one lined up, and it's unfortunately kind of the same theme. For our second story, this one, it's concerning just as much, but in a different way. Not necessarily a better way. In fact, probably a much worse way. I giggle out of nervousness, but it's definitely not a funny situation. Seeing things like this, something about this, the way it's written, maybe it's just the really excessive use of certain words, the grammar, that makes it seem like it actually is written by a younger person, maybe in this situation. But this one feels different and bad and, oh, squicky. But still, it got a new update. It's something that I've been following for a while, this actual story on Reddit. And it does have developments. I can't say that it has a happy ending yet, but let's go ahead. Let's see. Let's see where we end up with this story. So with the title, we start with original posters. Parents pulled her out of dance. This is causing her dad to stumble in his walk with God. My parents and I were talking about my Sweet 16 plans the past couple of weeks leading up to what happened. It wasn't about dance in the beginning. My parents aren't vaccinated and they don't believe in getting flu shots either. They also didn't believe that COVID was real when it happened. My parents are very religious, and while our church moved to online services in the beginning of last year, they went back to in-person services that were open air within a few weeks. But people didn't seem to socially distance afterwards, despite the chairs being separated from other people. Why do I bring it up? Well, because my parents would bring up my Sweet 16 and how I wouldn't have one if I wanted to get vaccinated, despite how many times I told them it was unrelated. They said they didn't care because it was their money and they didn't have to do anything for me in throwing me a party because it was a privilege. Along with how getting vaccinated wasn't putting our trust in God and how the virus was just a tool that Democrats used against the 45th. We argued a lot about how my party had nothing to do with their beliefs, but they kept holding it over me until they eventually said I wouldn't have one. They've been angry with me ever since I voiced my opinion, and taking me out of dance is the latest thing they've done. So it seems like these parents kinda hard on the Trump train. If that's indicative of their beliefs at all, then you can imagine them to be, you know, the kind of Republican family that's very concerned about, very concerned about labeling other people as PDF files, let's say. Every so often, they sit me and my sister down for a talk on a quarterly basis. Talk about whatever regarding the family. I really hate these talks, because it's just them telling us their opinions and things like that, along with new rules that they'll sometimes have. However, in their last talk, they talked to me without my sister. They told me my current semester in dance and gymnastics will be my last one, and they pointed to what they taught me about purity as to why. Mom said that women are supposed to be honorable to God and themselves with their bodies, and not showing too much and stuff like that, and in the past she's been really controlling with what we wear. No shorts, no two-piece bathing suits when we go to the beach or pool. But in regards to the conversation, Dad said that he felt led to address dance and gymnastics, and that as I grew nearer to adulthood, I needed to start thinking differently too. I was just taking a minute for that to soak in. I'm sorry, but it... Getting some strange sussy vibes here, my dude. Let's continue. When I asked him what he meant, he said he felt challenged being in the gym environment and his walk with God, and that he felt God telling him to address it. I told him it has nothing to do with me, but he kept pointing to purity and how Mom agreed with him too, that it was a big thing for him to address it. This has nothing to do with me, and they've been treating me like crap ever since I told them that I want to get vaccinated and wear a mask. Something they've refused to do and still refuse to do. Now, I'm losing dance right after my party, but they just won't listen to me. I told Dad that Mom can drive me or one of my friends. I even told my grandma about it, who talked to them about it, but Dad yelled at me for going behind his back and for being disrespectful by going to his mom. I just feel like I'm losing more privileges the older I get. I don't know what to do to make him stop. Is there anything I can do to at least let them have me continue dance? Since I can't talk to anyone else, I'll just get yelled at again. As we can see, this is where the first initial post left off. Like we went over in the beginning, it was a very, very, very highly rated, highly commented post. There was tons of advice, there was tons of stuff, hopefully, for the original poster to work with. Sadly, once again, thanks to things that are completely legal for parents to do to their children, it's... yeah, well, you'll see. So the first update we have starts off. When I talked to them again, they said they'd help me keep some of my friends if I was respectful. And it's a privilege, and they don't have to drive me. And when they brought up how I was wrong to tell Grandma, Mom said that we should build each other up as Christians, not the opposite, by talking about people. And she said that we're supposed to help each other in our walk with God, but after they said that, they gave me some other options. That said, he wanted me to still play sports and try something else, but I couldn't do dance or gymnastics or swimming or cheerleading. And Mom said the verse about not conforming to the world, and that the world tries to tell you to show too much, but we're supposed to be different because of God. Dad said that he turns away from commercials that are like that too. Meaning, I assume, that he turns away from commercials that show too much skin? But I've seen him not turn away on many commercials too. When I asked Mom what that had to do with me, she said the uniforms I wore in dance were inappropriate. I should be thankful they let me do it at all. And Dad said that's why he doesn't watch Olympic gymnastics either. I told him again, that has nothing to do with me. I think it's really starting to become clear, even at this early stage in the story. They are punishing the daughter because the father is becoming attracted to her. And although that will become clear, as we started out knowing, the ending is going to be kind of unsatisfying for what we're looking for. We're going to be hoping that justice will get done, but the law looks at this situation and says that unless he actually does something to her, he's not doing anything wrong. But still, we'll try to continue. Since our first talk, Dad has not been back to the studio. He still won't let me continue after classes end. He also doesn't want me talking to Grandma either, and Mom has not allowed me to go over to her anymore. I haven't told my coach yet, but I plan to before classes end, and I don't think I'm going to tell my friends since I might still be allowed to hang out with them. But if they find out that I told everyone else, that I told anyone else, Mom said I'd get punished because they already told me once after talking to Grandma. And someone commented in my first post, a coach might have to tell. I don't want to get punished. They already said I would. Is there anyone I can tell who doesn't have to tell them but can still help me? My sister does dance too, but they're not making her stop. And I think it's because she's younger. I hate it so much. I'm the only one who gets punished. Not that she should, it's just not fair. I'm gonna tell my coach. I don't want to be punished. And I want to ask if there's anyone who doesn't have to tell them, since I tell my doctor, they may tell my parents because they're paying for it. I don't know if they have to tell them. So we can see here, the original poster is scared to reach out because she knows there will be retaliatory punishment from her parents. It's a really shitty situation to be in, and it's one that a lot of people have been in. Like I mentioned in the first story, I received threats that I would be either involuntarily committed or sent to a troubled teens camp, and those threats were used to help keep me in line. And when you are threatened with things at a young age, you feel powerless, you feel helpless. Especially when it's something that would cause you to be removed from your life and your friends and all the things that matter to you. So the original poster, truly desperate for help, want to know if there's anybody that they can talk to. There is a glimmer of hope in this next update, because it does say that since my last update, I talked to my coach. I also had a chance to think about everything more. Before I get to her, I want to talk about Dad and what I now think of the whole situation. When Dad talked to me, Mom said he was doing a big thing, but he hasn't done anything to work on himself. I want to explain what I mean. When Mom took my sister to the gym without him, he's just stayed home and watched TV. He hasn't seen a therapist or anyone in church about it. And he said that no one outside of our family should know about it. As part of working on himself, he said that he wouldn't watch Olympic gymnastics or swimming this year, and that he wouldn't go to the gym for 2 weeks while he's fasting. And as of right now, he's back at the gym. Why I decided to talk to my coach. When Dad first talked to me, I didn't know what challenged meant. But after our follow-up talk about how I can't do sports that require a similar uniform to gymnastics, it made more sense. And I want to explain why. Dad was feeling challenged by one of my classmates or instructors. He would have let me continue gymnastics and just move to a different gym. But because he didn't want me doing dance, or swimming, or gymnastics, because of the uniforms, I began to think it was me who challenged him, and that's what I talked to my coach about too. I didn't want to think it was me. I keep telling myself that it wasn't, in my mind. But if it was a friend or a teacher, we'd just switch gyms. Because he didn't want me doing gymnastics or swimming or dance anymore. It wasn't a gym thing, and I didn't want to believe it. He could have had Mom drive me permanently if he was feeling challenged and always stay home, but even me getting dressed at home could challenge him. That made me scared about something else. Given how Dad isn't watching Olympic gymnastics and swimming, I began to feel uncomfortable with him having sports pictures of me through the years. Now that his 2 weeks of fasting at home is done, back at the gym, watching my sister's practices, and that also made me believe it had everything to do with me. I hate writing that. It makes me feel horrible when I think about it at home. I don't want him having pictures if he sees me like that. And I don't want him at the gym for my sister either. My coach said he would talk to the head coach about it, and I could barely make it through that practice because I couldn't get it off my mind. I'm scared that Dad gets off to me with old pictures, and Grandma also told others in the family about whatever she and Dad talked about. Dad's mad at me now because it's a thing in extended family. Been to one practice since his 2-week fast. My coach said that she would have a follow-up with me at my next class, but she also told me she may have to talk to them or authorities after talking with our head coach. We're going to talk again in our next practice. Okay. So at this point, through talking to the grandma, through talking to the coach, through getting the comments, it's unfortunate, but it seems like the reality of the situation is becoming clear to everybody, even the original poster. And, oh, it's gotta be such a terrible feeling. It really does. But once again, no matter how creepy this guy is, in the eyes of the law, unless he actually does something that would cause, you know, serious, it would be serious abuse, is what it would be. It would be trauma, is what it would be. And until that crime happens, he can be as much of a creep and a lech and a perv as he wants. I told you it's gonna be a tough story to get through. It is a rough one, even for me. It's shitty parent spotlight, but it's hard to get worse than these parents. Basically it. Dad is upset that the family knows, but he hasn't told me anything about calls or anything else. I don't think I'll know until I see them for the holidays. I don't know what'll happen when I talk to my coach again, but she agreed that Dad shouldn't be at the gym. And she said that the head coach might talk to my parents before our follow-up, if they weren't talked to already. When Dad went to my sister's practice for the first time since his fast. My Dad's been really upset with the family stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised if he got talked to by the head coach and didn't tell me yet. But he said that we're going to talk again soon. I wanted to write this because I'm afraid that I'll lose privileges or maybe my phone. And talking here has been really helpful when I can't talk to Grandma or anyone else. I don't want to lose that. That's why I wrote this now, because I don't know what privileges I'll lose. I should delete this, but I won't. I have no one else to really talk to. Thought about showing them, but that'll definitely make things worse. I know I'm probably getting punished. I want to ask if there's anything I can do before that happens. Before we talk again about extended family now knowing, and most definitely if or when the head coach talks to them too. there anything I can do to just let this die down? I don't even care about gymnastics anymore. I just don't feel comfortable around him. I'm also afraid the same will happen to my sister if it hasn't happened already. Is there anything I can do or plan to do after we talk? After I maybe get punished? These parents! It's terrible! It's, like, despicable, honestly. Oh. The story, it's definitely rough. I hope that someday there will be a satisfactory update for you guys. Alright. The final update that we have. Like I said, don't brace yourself for anything wonderful. But we will see it through to the end, as the end stands here now. When I made my first post about 3 months ago, my Sweet 16 party was one of the main points. In the aftermath of everything that's happened with gymnastics, I really couldn't care less about it and was rather glad that it didn't happen, given all the extra baggage that came with the party, surrounding the vaccine and their religious views on it. However, as of writing this, I'm now 16. There was no party, and I honestly don't mind. My mind has been on other things, and told my parents I didn't want to celebrate either, since I'd be losing my friends from gymnastics, and as punishment they wouldn't be allowed to come because I told Grandma. The main reason why Dad wanted to talk to me last time was because Grandma told his family what I told her, and now more people knew about it too. Dad said he received calls from other people about it, and that made him want to talk to me again, since he said that it could ruin his job. When I made my last post, many people encouraged me to call my grandma and inform her about how I was punished for reaching out to her. Even a few asked me to help me call CPS too. I waited until my parents went to sleep to call her, because they have a habit of standing outside my door if they hear me talking on the phone recently, but because of the time they went to bed when I called her, it was almost midnight and I couldn't get through to her. I called her numerous times, but I just couldn't get through. I didn't feel comfortable calling CPS on my own, and I didn't want to explain it by myself without talking to anyone. But I was able to call my aunt on my dad's side and talk to her. I didn't want to have to tell her the entire thing from the beginning, but she said she already knew, as my grandma told her. She didn't know how I was punished for telling her and that I was scared about our call tomorrow. I also told her how I had to hide that I was talking to her. But when I mentioned CPS and wanting her help to call them, she told me Grandma told Dad that she would call CPS if he followed through on removing me from gymnastics, but she wasn't sure if she actually called them or not. I assumed that was probably a part of what they were arguing about, but Auntie said she's not sure if Grandma actually would call on him despite wanting to or thinking she could convince him. My auntie said she would call them for me because I didn't want to talk to them and I was afraid of my parents hearing me and coming down to ask who I was talking to. My parents talked to me the next day, and they talked about Grandma and some things I didn't know. Mom said that someone in Dad's family messaged one of her relatives who called her about it. So now someone on her side of the family knows too. And despite the issue with me telling Grandma already being handled weeks ago, they were upset that more people besides Grandma knew and said it was stressful for them. When I asked if I was going to get punished for it, Dad said that I wasn't going to finish the rest of my class, but he didn't take my phone away from me. When I asked about my friends and when I could see them again, he said that that wasn't important right now, and my sister wouldn't be going to her classes either. He didn't say whether or not one of the coaches talked to them or anything, and I don't know if they did. Mom also said her parents were pretty upset when they talked to her. Because of the stress, Dad would be taking some time away from work and staying with his brother to work out some things. He didn't tell me specifics or for how long. Mom just said it'd be temporary and that he'd still be here some of the time. He also said that her parents might try to visit as well, although she told them that she doesn't want them over. As of writing this, Dad has been home a little bit here and there, but he's also spent time with his brothers and sometimes overnight. So it's been slightly peaceful at times. Oh my god. I feel so bad for this young person. The only time they can get peace in their house is when their dad is gone. It's been a long time, but I can remember feeling that way as a kid too. My own dad was a bit of a heavy drinker, so there were definitely times when I felt like the only time it was peaceful is when he wasn't around. I'm not sure when CPS called them, but the day after we talked, Mom told me she received a call from CPS, and Dad thought I had called or told someone else. I told him that I didn't. I didn't know who called, but he didn't seem to believe me. Although he hasn't bothered me much about it since. My mom's been talking on the phone about it at home, and when I was able to talk to my aunt again, she said she might have been getting advice or something. Since they called, Mom has been upset. Ever since Dad started going over to his brother's. She'll get on me for small things, and I feel like she's just taking out her frustration on me whenever she can. Usually yelling and just not talking to me sometimes. My sister, on the other hand, hasn't talked to me much either since she got pulled out of gymnastics. I think she's holding it against me that she was removed. She's given me short answers and has avoided me, and while it's been quieter for a little bit without Dad, Mom said that he'll be coming back soon permanently. I'm afraid that things will go back to the way they were when he does. After Mom told me about the CPS call, I told my aunt about it. I suggested calling CPS on my own since my phone wasn't taken away in case she missed anything. He also said it'd be better to call before a potential visit, in case my parents don't let them in or try to tell me not to say anything. I didn't want to call without her, but she was right when she suggested that Mom might not let them in because that is what she did. However, nothing has happened, even after I called or they visited. At least nothing that I'm aware of. I talked to my aunt about trying to stay with her closer to when Dad returns, but I'm back in school now. I'm considering talking to a teacher since I couldn't a few weeks ago when school was out, but I feel like there's a lot they're not telling me, and I don't know if there's anything they can or will actually do. Since Dad hasn't done anything besides say a lot of things, and he's never touched me or anything like that. He's also allowing me to do sports, but not the 3 ones that I mentioned. And because he hasn't done anything, I don't know what to do from here. Mom's upset at me and my sister's upset at me too. Dad's really stressed I'm having a hard time focusing on school. Sorry for this being so long. I just want to ask if it's worth it to call them again. Since I'm afraid that because it's all verbal, they won't do anything. Unless I'm just not aware of them working on it. Unfortunately, it seems like that may be the limit with what assistance she gets from CPS at this time. Like I was saying earlier, until an actual crime happens, things aren't really considered that serious. There was one last smaller update, and it is simply a downer. I didn't plan to make any more posts, but something happened recently and it's been annoying. After I found some peace. It's been a few months and I talked to a teacher about what happened. She said she'd have to report it as part of her job, but nothing really happened despite my aunt saying they might call CPS as she did. Besides that, nothing much has happened. Besides talking to my teacher from time to time as things quieted down until recently. My younger sister has been allowed to go to her practices, after Dad took a 2-week fasting break from attending, along with telling me that I couldn't do it at my age anymore, so that he could work on himself, but not seek therapy at all. He just stayed home and didn't even talk to a church therapist, that he wasn't watching Olympic gymnastics as fasting, and then in 2 weeks he was back at the gym again. However, this post isn't about that. A few people suggested trying to keep up my skills by practicing at home. And I began to do that after my parents went to bed downstairs in the garage, where we have some space. I'm always downstairs after they go to bed, and have been doing this for a few weeks. However, my mom came downstairs randomly and saw me practicing when she went to get laundry from the boiler room. I had headphones on and wasn't bothering anyone, but Mom said I'm not allowed downstairs after she goes to bed. When I asked her why, she said I was being disobedient. Now, when Dad said stop, he meant gymnastics entirely, and not going behind his back. I told her I could try to practice in my room, although it was a little small, But she made the new rule and I can't stand it. Every time, even when I go down to get a drink, she'll hear my footsteps on the stairs and get up to come down and tell me to go back up. I haven't been able to practice in over a week after finding a way to do it the past few. We had a mini beam in the garage too. She also told Dad, who yelled at me about it, of course. But I'm at the point of just about being done with gymnastics again after the nonsense with the gym. Mom has even put up a camera in the living room that goes to her phone after we talked. That's what made me want to write this. Yes, I could try to practice outside or at a park, but I'm just tired of all of it. I want to ask how to deal with the camera. My aunt has talked to my parents a few times, but they got into an argument and they don't want me talking to her. I also told my teacher, who said that she'd report it, but nothing has happened. I'm just tired. I regret trying to practice in the garage, because Mom said the camera isn't leaving, and that I'll get punished if I do anything to it. She never said anything about not practicing at home until that one night when she made that rule. So, unfortunately this is, like I said, the final update to the situation. The ending as it is now is very unsatisfactory. But just like it's perfectly legal for your parents to have you kidnapped out of your house in the middle of the night, send you to a troubled teens camp, it's also perfectly legal for your parents to restrict you from doing activities solely based on the fact that they think the uniform is too skimpy or not. Even if the reason why they're thinking that is because of their own personal failings. I mean, if we just look at this for a second, I mean, even under the supposed, like, rules of Christianity, isn't there a whole verse about how if your eye causes you to sin, you should pluck it out? It doesn't say anything about, like, punishing or plucking or doing anything to the thing that you saw that you believe caused you to sin. I'm just not understanding. I mean, like, I know, once again, it's a Reddit post, could be fake. This one, it's written more like it was written by a young person, so I kind of doubt as much that this one is fake, and that really hurts. Because I know that there are a lot of families like this. A lot of families that just want to make their child a little automaton that believes and says and does all the things that those parents do and say and think. And as it is, there's really not many protections for that. Very few states have protections for kids that would allow these young people to be better served than they have been. Now, there are some states and some localities within states that have minors' Bill of Rights, which stipulate being able to have activities with friends and not being able to be locked up in the house. But even with those states, because the parents are theoretically allowing some kind of activity, that may not even qualify. Because she could do extracurricular activities, it's just that she doesn't want to do the ones they're allowing her to do. It's a really gross situation. And like I said, I want to do what I can with my platform, however big it ever gets, to encourage people to speak out against stuff like this. Young people don't have their own legal voice. So we need to protect them. We need to protect them from stuff like this. If people's peers tell them that this stuff is wrong and start excluding them from the community that they are in, you know, those parents are going to have to realize that they're doing something wrong. If they can't just keep going back to their church with all their friends, stuff like that. But sadly, it seems like, at least in this case, if the views didn't directly come from the church that they're going to, they're certainly using their views to justify it. So it may be unlikely that people at the church would find anything wrong with their conduct. It's really sad. It's really, really sad. If this story ever gets an update, especially one that leaves it in a better place, I'll make sure to update this. I'm gonna have to go slog through the editing mess that I've left to myself. I don't know how long this will end up being. I don't know if it'll end up being any good. It's my first attempt at doing this. I know my voice was getting raspy a lot, so I had to mute and drink water or clear my throat quite a few times. I do apologize for that. Hopefully it ends up not being too long. Hopefully it ends up not being too boring and not too much of a downer. If you want some more lighthearted content, I do stream on Twitch almost every day. Basically every day except Sunday. For around 3 or 4 hours, sometimes even longer. I stream at 5:30 p.m. USA Mountain Time. We don't touch topics like this on my stream, we just play video games and hang out. So if you want something to lighten the mood, you can check out my VOD, some of my recorded gameplay, or you can just head on over to the stream. I'll see you next time for whatever crazy low-effort Reddit content I pick to read next time. Bye!